What's up, guys? My name is Oddbird, and I just now got into motovlogging. I mean, it's probably gonna be my first video, nice little introduction. And one thing I want to talk about, though, most people who start out riding, or even before they start out, they wonder, what is a good first bike? Now, this right here is a Yamaha R6, my first bike. So I just want to give like a first person perspective on what it's like to start out on a 600. Because most people, you know, they're faced with, what should I start on? Is it too much power? Am I gonna die 3 times in the parking lot if I start out on a 600 or a liter bike? But you know what, to be fair, 250s really are the best bike to start with. I mean, the only experience I've had before getting on this bike is a 2-day MSF course where I learned on a Suzuki TU 250X, which is a really good bike, to be honest. It's a lot of fun to just zip around with, nice standard, you sit upright. And I'll watch my speed cop. But yeah, I mean, it's a really nice bike. It's fun, low power. You know, with the 250, you really don't have to be that worried about shooting off if you accidentally pop the clutch, or, you know, which on a 600, you're really gonna have to be careful. But then again, you know, when you're considering a first bike, first of all, consider how you ride, how you will probably ride. I mean, look at your driving style. Do you speed everywhere? Do you cut people off in a car? What's your reason for getting a bike? You know, if you're getting a bike just a lane split and go like 50 miles an not 50, but if you're going like freaking 100 something miles an hour, you just want to be the fastest, coolest guy on the block, yeah, start out with a 250, dude. You start out on a 600, you're probably gonna die. I mean, not really, but it's really, you're gonna be very hard pressed to be safe. The reason I say this is because I had a friend who started on a Gixxer 600, no license, you know, no gear at all, just bought a bike from a friend and decided to just go crazy with it. He didn't last 6 months, he didn't even last 3 months. He had the bike maybe 3 months before he got into a wreck and got into an accident. You know, he died, like, on the scene before he even hit the ground. And that's just pretty sad. So, I mean, you can start out on a 250, but me personally, I don't regret starting out on a 600. One thing you have to really consider, though, is your environment. A 250 is absolutely perfect for city riding. If you're riding through the city, you're not going to have any problem with a 250. You're going to get really nice gas mileage, and it's still like pretty quick. You can zip around with it pretty easily. It's nice, small, light, maneuverable. But the thing is, you know, I live in like the south of Houston, where like straight out of my community, there's already a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. I mean, right now, just because I'm doing an intro, getting used to talking in my helmet, talking to myself, I'm going to show you guys, that's why I went like through these streets where the speed limit's 35, you know, nice, easy. But right up ahead, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. There's a street, Highway 6, and straight out of my community, you already have a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. Which, one thing about Texas is people will go over the speed limit. The speed limit over there is 60, you know, I'm going 70 on this bike and people are already passing me, which isn't really that ideal on a bike, much less a 250 where you're probably going to be redlining the thing. Just trying to keep up with the traffic, trying to stay just a little ahead of traffic, you know? And people here in Houston are fucking crazy. It's really bad. I think the only place that has worse drivers than Houston is probably Dallas, which you cannot pay me enough to ride a bike there. But yeah, I mean, right here, I do not regret this 600 at all. You really can start out on a 600cc bike. But, very important but, if you do the MSF course on a 250. Do the MSF course, learn the basics of control, and then you can start out on a 600, you know? But only start out on a 600 if you really, really need to. I mean, I enjoy this. You know, right now I'm doing about 70 on the street, where the speed limit is 60 miles an hour. And my RPMs are still decently low, but that's because it's a 600. I can't imagine doing this on a 250 with, you know, over here the wind blows pretty bad. I've had the wind blown so bad I've been going like all over the lanes. I've been blown all over these lanes on my 600, so I can't imagine how a 250 would be. But, you know, it's not, 600s aren't really that bad. But one thing that's very important, absolutely very important, is control, self-control. So I urge you guys, look at your driving experience. You know, if you're the kind of guy getting tickets left and right on a bike or in a car, if you're the kind of guy getting tickets in a car left and right, a bike, a 600cc is probably not for you. Because, you know, it will tempt you. This thing is so much fun. Over 10,000 RPM, feels like a jet taking off. But it just doesn't have the power to lift off the front wheel, like right away. But you could tell it wants to, you know, and that's not really such a good bike to start on with absolutely zero riding experience. You know, if you haven't had any experience with a clutch and roll-on throttle and any of that, don't get started on a 600cc. But me personally, I don't regret it. I have a lot of self-control. I go the speed limit, well, around the speed limit, and I haven't really had any problems with this bike. But the throttle is very twitchy. I mean, right now I'm in low RPM, 6th gear, and it already wants to go, you know, just roll it on. So, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, you shouldn't really shy away from big CC bikes. Say you don't want a sport bike, because this is all, I'm talking right now about sport bikes. This bike has an insane, like, power curve and all that. But say you want to start on a big CC cruiser, the main thing with a big CC cruiser is weight. If you can't handle the weight of a big CC cruiser, you are going to drop it. And it's gonna happen. I mean, I have a friend who has a 750 Shadow, Honda Shadow, and he told me, you know, ever since he got the bike, he's just been dropping it like crazy at stoplights, stop signs, you know, just because it's a lot of weight to hold on to. But other than that, you know, he's already looking for a different bike because power, it just flat out does not have the power that he wants. You know, I mean, in first gear, that bike is going to top out at maybe 40 miles an hour. Top speed on that bike is probably around 100. I mean, I've ridden it, but I haven't really maxed it out. And I prefer my bike over a cruiser because a cruiser cannot give you the amount of control a sport bike can give you. Hello, doggy. So a Shadow, I mean, it handles like a freaking jumbo jet. Like an airliner, you know? You're not going to be pulling any sharp turns on it. You're not going to be accelerating quickly, but you will ride around in relative comfort, but not really that fast, you know? So, you know, you shouldn't shy away from big CC bikes as long as, you know, you can control it. But big CC sport bikes, yeah, you should be very careful. you should be very, very careful, because if you don't have any self-control, if you can't control yourself, you know, you want to be lane splitting, you want to go fast, big CC sport bike is really not for you. I mean, you can get one, but you will be inviting a lot of accidents. I've had this bike for 6 months now. I've done almost 10,000 miles on it. And really, I've only laid it down once because I was listening to people who told me that I cannot handle the power of this bike at all. And I should take it easy, and I will crash with this bike, and blah, blah, blah. So I was listening to them, and I panicked in a turn. I mean, I have the video of my crash. I panicked in a turn, and I didn't want to take it. So I went straight ahead off-road into the grass and locked up the front tire, and boom, down it went. Come on, mate. So, you know, these bikes, yeah, they have a lot of power, but they're really not going to kill you unless you're stupid. So, it's all in your control over the bike. And for those guys who are starting out on 600cc, or who are thinking about starting on them, they're really easy to control once you get used to the throttle and how sharp the brakes are. And just keep in mind, these bikes can do so much more than you're capable of. All right, they're capable of so much more than you are. So don't really be afraid of them, but respect the bike. Because if you do not respect this bike, it will bite you in the ass.